Today I decided to give you guys a ranking of the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. This is a series of movies that began in 2003 and starred Johnny Depp as the Captain Jack Sparrow, as well as Orlando Bloom as Will Turner, Keira Knightley as Elizabeth Swann, Will's love interest. Captain Barbossa is in the film, and he's played by Geoffrey Rush. And there are several other characters throughout the series, but those are the main ones that are generally focused on. The series started in 2003 with Curse of the Black Pearl and lasted all the way up until 2017. There have been talks of a sixth movie, but it's unlikely that anything will come of that because it has been a long time since the final movie. But maybe one day we'll get another Pirates film. But without further ado, I decided to give you guys my ranking from worst to best, starting with Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides. The fourth film in the Pirates franchise sees Captain Jack Sparrow trying to find the Fountain of Youth, all while the Spanish try to find it, and Blackbeard tries to find it as well. Ian McShane plays Blackbeard this time around, the villain of the movie, and his daughter is played by Penelope Cruz. Her and Jack have something of a former relationship, and there's some tension there, some romantic tension. And this film basically sees these three groups trying to get to the Fountain of Youth, and it's a fairly decent but somewhat sluggish adventure. This is the first one where Jack Sparrow is more or less the lead. He was very important in the other films, but I would argue that he wasn't really the main character, but he definitely is in this fourth film. And while he is interesting enough to lead a film, I think he kind of works better as the important side character, kind of like a Han Solo type, but here he's front and center, and he has to basically carry the entire movie. Johnny Depp does a good job at this, but the film's just kind of poorly paced. The whole middle hour of the film is just kind of boring. And while I do think it starts strong and does end strong, it really is the most slowest of the five films. I think that there are some good aspects to this movie, but I don't know how this film is so expensive. This movie has a budget of over $400 million, and at the time of its release was the most expensive film ever made. And honestly, that doesn't really show on screen. This film doesn't dazzle like the first three, and it's not bad looking, but really nothing impressive. You've seen a lot before by this point. Definitely fun at times, but kind of a sluggish movie, like I said, and one that's pretty damn forgettable. Coming in at number 4 is Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales. Also known as Salazar's Revenge in other parts of the world, and I think it should have been called that here, honestly. The main reason why is Dead Men Tell No Tales sounds a lot like Dead Man's Chest, the second film, and it's just kind of a redundant title and just tends to confuse people who aren't really familiar with this franchise. This film shows a cursed pirate named Salazar who wants to get revenge on Captain Sparrow because when Sparrow was much younger, he betrayed him and his crew and caused them to meet their fate after their ship crash due to Jack Sparrow. He, along with several other characters, want to find this trident that can cure curses so they can live again. It's kind of similar to the plot of Curse of the Black Pearl, and I do like the fact that we see some returning characters such as Will Turner and even Elizabeth Swann, but I kind of wish they were bigger players in the film. Will only has a couple of scenes, and Elizabeth only appears like once in the film, and I was kind of hoping for something of a reunion. That's been the biggest problem that I have with the fourth film, was that you were missing most of the cast of the first few movies, and this could have been a chance to have something like that, but we just get brief cameos by those characters. Salazar is an interesting villain, although I don't think he's quite as interesting as Davy Jones or even Barbossa. He is a slight improvement over Blackbeard, though, who I felt was kind of underutilized. The film does have some nice spectacle, and despite being significantly cheaper than the fourth film, it does look better in my opinion. This film was nothing special, but it was an attempt, I think, to get the series back on track and was something of a return to form. I like the plot of this one a little bit more than 4, and I think that it has a little more going on, although I do think that some of the characters, like Will Turner's son, is just kind of there, and much like the mermaid storyline from part 4, it doesn't really go anywhere I think that interesting apart from helping Will out towards the end of the film. It has a nice spectacle, and it's a decent entry into the franchise, but not one that I find myself wanting to rewatch that often, but an improvement over 4. In third place, we have Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End. What I do like about this film is that it has some great spectacle. What I don't like about this film is that it's completely nonsensical for the whole second act of the movie. The second film was also pretty cluttered, but what it didn't have to do was worry about tying things up, and thus it could just kind of have fun with it. This one has to have several storylines, including a nonsensical one about these pirate lords that really goes nowhere. You even have Chow Yun-fat in the movie as one of these pirate lords who, spoiler alert, gets killed off very early in the film, and then that storyline is basically just dropped in the finale. I love the spectacle in this one, especially the finale where they're actually fighting in a giant whirlpool. Davy Jones and the Flying Dutchman versus Jack Sparrow and his crew with the Black Pearl. There's some great visuals here. I really like the fight between Jack Sparrow and Davy Jones, and it's a fun conclusion to the series, but I just feel that the story was kind of unfocused, and they were even writing this movie as they were filming it, and it kind of shows. So even though this is a messy conclusion to the original Pirates trilogy, it is still a very fun conclusion, and despite its flaws, I do very much enjoy it, especially its great soundtrack. This was really the end of an era. This feels like the end of the original series, and despite its flaws, I do find this one to be very fun. Coming in at number 2 is Pirates of the Caribbean: Dead Man's Chest. Released in 2006, and one of the first movies to even reach $1 billion at the box office. This is before that happened all the time like now. This film shows our characters going up against a new villain, Davy Jones. He's essentially a cursed pirate, and on his crew of fish/aquatic people is Will Turner's father, Bootstrap Bill. Will wants to save his father. Elizabeth wants to save Will. Jack wants to have control of Davy Jones so he won't get killed. And the East India Trading Company wants control of Jones so they can stop Jack. Everyone has something to do in this movie, and I think that's why I like this one so much. There's just so much happening, but it's all interesting. Whereas 3 has a lot of plot lines that you don't care about, all the plot lines in this one are pretty damn interesting. I think that several things throughout this film could have been a little more tightened up in the story department at certain times, but it's not nearly as convoluted as 3 or nearly as boring as 4. This is fun from start to finish. There's several key scenes that I love and just stick in my mind, such as the scene with the giant cage balls that they have to roll around, and the scene where they're fighting on the giant wheel. There's just a lot of fun to be had in this sequel. And while I don't think that the story is as focused as the first film, and it does have a cliffhanger ending, this is one of the most fun films in the series, and possibly the most action-packed of the series. I love Dead Man's Chest, and I think it is just an amazing sequel, and the best sequel of the franchise. But my number one pick would have to be Pirates of the Caribbean: The Curse of the Black Pearl. Released in 2003, the film follows Will Turner, as well as his love interest, Elizabeth Swann, and along the way, they run into this group of pirates who are cursed by this treasure. This curse essentially turns Barbossa, which is the villain of the film, and his crew into these walking skeletons. They run into a pirate named Jack Sparrow, who was a member of the crew at one point, but got separated due to a falling out where they left him stranded for dead on an island. It's up to Jack, with the help of Will Turner, to actually defeat these pirates by breaking the curse. It's a pretty damn interesting story with some great visuals, and this was just a lot of fun. It's the most focused of the 5 movies, and it's not as over the top and convoluted as the sequels. This one has the best performances of the series. I think Jack Sparrow is not too over the top like he became in later parts of the series. I think Barbossa is a great villain. I think the plot moves along at a really good pace. It feels like you're on an adventure, a fun ride, so to speak. Whereas the sequels kind of became a little more convoluted. This one's very focused. It's just a very entertaining film, and one that really put Johnny Depp on the map as far as a mainstream actor goes. He had been in a lot of stuff before this, but this really made him a superstar. Jack Sparrow is probably my favorite character that he ever played, and it's just a magnificent portrayal that he brings to the screen in this movie. I love the first film, and it's the only one that critics really enjoy, but I do have to agree with them on this one that it's just great. If you love good adventure and action and you want to see something that you could show your kids or your friends and you haven't seen the pirate films before, definitely check this movie out. You're going to have a good time. And I absolutely love Pirates of the Caribbean: The Curse of the Black Pearl. Well, that's my ranking. Be sure to leave your ranking down below, or just tell me your favorite Pirates movie. Do you think they should make a 6th Pirates film? I personally think they should, but it should be something of a reboot to start fresh. Sorry for the delay in this video. It's been a while since I've made a video, but I've been really busy with work and stuff like that. But I'll try to have you guys out a few videos in the coming weeks. Thank you all for watching, and peace out.